Hello and welcome to Obla Air, a Learn English radio series from the British Council. I'm Joan Walker.
And I'm David Evans.
And in this series we aim to improve your English language skills with the help of a drama about a budget airline.
And today we come to the final episode in our story, An Inspector Calls.
In the last programme, the inspector and Sophia were on the Obla Air flight to London. Sophia was determined to find fault with Obla Air and prove to the inspector that it should be closed down. So when the inspector said that he thought the food was delicious, Sophia became extremely angry, with unfortunate results.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I can't believe this. What do you think your job is, Inspector? This is appalling. This is outrageous. What do you think? Oh, my word. I feel rather faint. I don't know what's come over me.
Are you all right, madam? Inspector, excuse me, could I ask you to move to another seat?
Yes, of course.
Now, madam, I just want you to sit still and breathe deeply. Muzz, can you get her a glass of water?
Yes, of course.
Give me your hand. Let me just feel your pulse.
Oh, my word. I don't know what's come over me. I feel rather strange.
Now, just stay calm. Take deep breaths.
Here's the water.
Everything's going to be okay. I'm a fully qualified nurse.
This is your captain speaking. In 10 minutes, we'll be starting our descent to London.
Did you hear that? We'll be in London soon. Everything will be fine.
Oh, thank you, my dear. Thank you so much.
Don't you worry. You're in safe hands.
In the next scene, we join the staff of Obla Air in the office where they have gathered to hear the inspector's report. He tells them,
I have reached the following conclusions. There are many areas where improvements need to be made.
And my first question is, what are these areas for improvement? He then says,
There were also many good things about this airline.
And my second question is, what impressed him? He then turns to Sophia and asks,
Do you have anything to add?
And what does Sophia add to the inspector's remarks? Let's listen and find out.
So, everybody, can I have your attention for a moment?
Right.
Inspector Sands has been kind enough to come here today to give us a brief summary of his report.
Not all bad news, I hope.
Thank you, Betsy. Inspector!
Thank you very much, Captain. Well, having conducted an extremely thorough inspection of Obla Air, both on the ground and in the air, I have reached the following conclusions. First, I must say there are many areas where improvements need to be made. Health and safety in the office, procedures on the plane, and so on. And I've detailed all these in my report.
Well, we'll look forward to reading that, won't we, everybody?
Yes.
However, there were also many good things about this airline. I was particularly impressed by the way your two flight attendants coped when a passenger fell ill. They were cool under pressure and seemed to know exactly what to do. I should also like to say that the food on the flight was absolutely delicious.
Well, thank you, Inspector. Thank you very much.
So does that mean you're not going to close us down?
Oh, no. Of course we're not going to close you down. There will be more inspections, though. We expect Obla Air to maintain the highest possible standards. We want Freeport to be a top-class tourist destination, and so Freeport needs a top-class airline.
Well, that's what we all want, isn't it, everyone?
Oh, yes. Of course.
Excellent. Well, now, Mrs. Eden Howe, do you have anything to add?
Well, obviously, I share your reservations about this airline, Inspector. But I have to say, I was also pleasantly surprised by the competence of the staff. In particular, this young lady here.
You mean Layla?
Yes, Layla. I have to say, I am most grateful to you.
That's all right. It was nothing.
I don't believe I'm hearing this.
So, does this mean we're friends again, Sophia?
I haven't forgotten Freeport Sunshine City, Captain. But I think we can say I have forgiven you.
So what areas for improvement does the inspector mention?
Health and safety in the office, procedures on the plane, and so on.
And what were the good things he noticed about Obla Air? He says,
I was particularly impressed by the way your staff coped when a passenger fell ill.
and he goes on.
I should also like to say that the food was absolutely delicious.
And what does Sophia add to the inspector's remarks? She says,
I was pleasantly surprised by the competence of the staff.
in other words, she thought that Muzz and Layla did a very good job. She then turns to Layla and says,
I have to say, I am most grateful to you.
and she concludes by saying to the captain,
I haven't forgotten Freeport Sunshine City, Captain, but I think we can say I have forgiven you.
So Obla Air has successfully passed the inspection, and it sounds like the captain and Sophia are also friends again.
You're listening to Obla Air, a Learn English radio series brought to you by the British Council.
At the start of the next scene, Pavi returns from the hospital. She tells everyone,
I'll be on crutches for another couple of weeks, but I'll make a full recovery.
crutches are sticks that people use to help them walk when they're injured. Pavi adds,
But you're going to have to find someone else to look after people on the plane, Captain.
so the captain is going to have to reorganize everyone's jobs at Obla Air. And what new roles does he give people? Let's listen and find out.
Hello, everyone.
Have a seat, Pavi.
Oh, thank you, Captain.
So, how are you?
Well, the doctors say I'll be on crutches for another couple of weeks, but I'll make a full recovery.
Oh, that is good news.
But you're going to have to find someone else to look after people on the plane, Captain. I can't do it. Not for a month. Maybe even longer. Not until my leg gets better, anyway.
I'm sure we can think of something.
Well, Muzz and Layla did a great job. The inspector just said so. Why don't they do it?
Well, yes. Why not? Muzz, would you be willing?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll give it a go, Captain.
And Layla?
I'd love to, Captain.
But then what are you going to do, Pavi?
Actually, I've got an idea, Captain. Perhaps Pavi could take over my job for a while as office manager.
What?
Well, I've been thinking. Layla can't prepare all the food by herself, especially if she's working with Muzz on the plane. And I've always loved cooking. So why don't I take over the catering for a while? We could have a proper menu with loads of delicious hot food. Maybe I could use the kitchen at the airport cafe.
I see you've already given this some thought, Betsy. What do you think, everyone?
That would suit me just fine.
I like it.
Layla?
I'm more than happy.
Vinny?
Just as long as it doesn't cost too much.
So what new jobs does the captain give to everyone at Obla Air? First, he asks Muzz and Layla if they are happy to continue working in the cabin of the plane. And both of them say yes. He then asks,
But what are you going to do, Pavi?
at this point, Betsy suggests,
Perhaps Pavi could take over my job for a while, as office manager.
and if that happens, what will Betsy do? She says,
Why don't I take over the catering for a while? We could have a proper menu with lots of delicious hot food.
so it sounds like everyone is happy with their new roles at the airline. And we'll find out how they get on next time when we start a brand new story. You're listening to Obla Air, a Learn English radio series brought to you by the British Council.
And don't forget that you can find more resources at the British Council Learn English website at learnenglish.britishcouncil.org.
And before we go, let's remind you of some of the key moments in the second half of our Obla Air story and Inspector Calls.
Everyone was busy getting ready for the flight to London when an inspector from the Freeport Aviation Authority would be on board the plane. But one of the biggest problems they faced was that they didn't have anyone to do their catering. And then Muzz had an idea to solve the problem.
Captain, I've got an idea. Why don't we just ask Layla?
Layla?
You know, the one who had the stall outside.
What? The woman who was selling Obler burgers? Don't be ridiculous, Muzz. That is out of the question.
Oh, wait, I just thought...
Out of the question.
So what are we going to do, Captain?
Well, we'll just have to keep on trying.
But despite the captain's objections, Muzz still asked Layla if she would help them with the catering. And although at first she refused, we later heard that she had changed her mind.
I've been thinking about what you said, Muzz.
Really?
Yeah. I'll do the catering for you tomorrow, if you want.
But you told me you...
Forget about what I said. I decided to swallow my pride. Maybe you're right, I thought. After all, it's always been my dream to fly to London.
Well, Captain, what do you say?
So Mars and Layla were given the job of looking after the inspector on the flight to London. A job which wasn't made any easier by Sophia.
Obler burgers? Honestly, what on earth is an Obler burger?
It's a special recipe, madam, unique to Obler Air. You won't have tasted anything like it before, I promise.
Is that so? Excuse me? Aren't you the young lady who was selling burgers in the street a few days ago? The captain told us you had nothing to do with Obler Air. Make a note of this, Inspector. He told us quite clearly that the police were coming to close you down. Don't you remember, Inspector?
Well, I do remember something like that.
Make a note, Inspector, make a note!
And in the last programme, we heard that the inspector really liked Layla's Obler burgers, which provoked a very strong reaction from Sophia.
Excuse me? Your Obler burger, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, are you responsible for these?
Yes. Why? Is everything all right?
I just wanted to say that this is probably the most delicious thing I've ever eaten.
What? Goodness gracious, Inspector. Have you gone completely mad? What are you saying? That girl's not a professional caterer. She was selling those Obler burgers on the street outside the office 3 days ago. I saw her with my own eyes.
But the food is delicious. Why does that matter?
And as we heard today, despite all Sophia's attempts to influence the inspector, Obler Air successfully passed the inspection.
Now here's a chance to hear a part of today's drama again.
So, everybody, can I have your attention for a moment?
Right.
Inspector Sands has been kind enough to come here today to give us a brief summary of his report.
Not all bad news, I hope.
Thank you, Betsy. Inspector!
Thank you very much, Captain. Well, having conducted an extremely thorough inspection of Obler Air, both on the ground and in the air, I have reached the following conclusions. First, I must say there are many areas where improvements need to be made. Health and safety in the office, procedures on the plane, and so on. And I've detailed all these in my report.
Well, we'll look forward to reading that, won't we, everybody?
Yes.
However, there were also many good things about this airline. I was particularly impressed by the way your 2 flight attendants coped when a passenger fell ill. They were cool under pressure and seemed to know exactly what to do. I should also like to say that the food on the flight was absolutely delicious.
Well, thank you, Inspector. Thank you very much.
So does that mean you're not going to close us down?
Oh, no. Of course we're not going to close you down. There will be more inspections, though.
But that's all for today. You've been listening to Obler Air, a Learn English radio series brought to you by the British Council. And remember, you can find more resources to help you learn English at learnenglish.britishcouncil.org. Join us again next time when we begin a brand new Obler Air story. But until then, from David Evans and me, Joan Walker,
Goodbye.
goodbye.